beneath the twin moons of Virelia, where the sky shimmered with ribbons of violet and silver. Luna walked alone through the crystal forest. Her silver hair caught the moonlight like spun glass, and her bare feet made no sound on the smooth, glassy ground. Tall spires of living quartz rose around her, humming softly in a language only she could understand. Beside her, Scorcher padded silently, his scales shifting from deep red to warm amber as he matched her calm mood. He was no ordinary dragon, smaller than most, cleverer than many humans, and fiercely loyal to the elf who had raised him from an egg. Luna was the last of the starborn elves, a people once known across the galaxy for their bond with living worlds. They did not build cities of steel or dig deep mines. Instead, they listened. They nurtured. They protected. But centuries ago, war and greed had scattered them, and now, only Luna remained on Virelia, their sacred heart world. The forest had been quiet for many cycles, peaceful, but tonight, something was wrong. The crystals no longer sang in harmony. Their hum had turned jagged, sharp. Cracks spiderwebbed across their surfaces, and tiny shards fell like frozen tears. Luna stopped, placing a hand on the nearest spire. It pulsed weakly beneath her fingers like a frightened heartbeat. "They sense it too," she murmured. Scorcher growled low in his throat, his wings half spreading. His golden eyes scanned the horizon. Far beyond the crystal trees, a dark shape hung in the sky. A human warship, blunt and heavy, its engines casting a dull orange glow against the clouds. Humans. Luna's stomach tightened. She had seen their kind before, long ago, when she was just a child. They had come then with promises of trade and friendship, but they left with stolen relics, broken treaties, and poisoned rivers. They took what they wanted and called it progress. And now they were back. On board the human vessel, the Aurora's Edge, Captain Dana Cross stood on the command deck, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the planet below. She was in her early 30s with short brown hair, a sharp jaw, and a reputation for getting the job done, no matter the cost. Her crew moved quickly around her, running final scans and prepping landing teams. "Energy readings are off the charts, Captain," said Lieutenant Mia Rodriguez, her fingers flying over a console. "The entire forest is emitting a bioresonant field." "It's unlike anything in the database," Dana nodded. "That's our target. Intel says the core of that field could power a dozen colonies for a century. We're not leaving without it." "But the scans also show life signs," Mia added carefully. "Sentient ones." Dana's expression didn't change. "If there's someone down there, they'll be relocated." "Standard protocol." "Relocated?" Mia repeated softly. "Or removed." Dana turned, her gaze hard. "We're not here to make friends, Mia. We're here to secure resources. Earth's dying. We don't have the luxury of sentiment." Mia said nothing, but her hands trembled slightly as she logged the order. Within the hour, a dropship detached from the Aurora's Edge, slicing through Virelia's thin atmosphere like a blade. It landed just beyond the outer ring of the crystal forest, kicking up clouds of iridescent dust. 10 soldiers stepped out, clad in black tactical armor, plasma rifles slung across their chests. Dana led them, her helmet visor reflecting the glowing trees. "Stay sharp," she ordered. "This place is alive. Treat it like hostile terrain." They moved in formation, boots crunching on the crystalline ground. Every step sent ripples through the forest. The spires trembled. The air grew thick with static. Deep in the shadows, Luna watched. Scorcher crouched low, his tail coiled tight. "They do not belong here," Luna whispered. Scorcher rumbled in agreement. "Let me burn them." "Not yet," she said. "They do not know what they've awakened." But the humans were already pushing deeper, scanning, probing, tearing small samples from the crystal trunks with handheld cutters. Each cut made the forest flinch. Each theft dimmed the light. Luna's patience wore thin when one soldier aimed a drill at the base of the great heart spire, the oldest and most sacred of all the crystals. She stepped forward. "Stop." Her voice was quiet, but it cut through the noise like a bell. The soldiers froze. Dana turned slowly, rifle rising. From the darkness, Luna emerged, tall and pale, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Scorcher followed, wings flared, smoke curling from his nostrils. "Identify yourself," Dana commanded, voice steady despite the unease coiling in her gut. "I am Luna," she said, "guardian of Virelia. You will leave this place now." Dana's eyes narrowed. "You're alone, and that pet of yours won't stop us," Scorcher snarled, a jet of flame licking the air between them. "He is not a pet," Luna said coldly. "He is my brother." Dana raised a hand, signaling her team to hold fire. Look, we don't want trouble, but we need what's here. This planet's energy signature is critical to human survival. Billions are starving back home. We're not asking, we're taking. You speak of survival, Luna replied, but you act like conquerors. Ferelia is not a battery. It is a living world. It breathes, it dreams, it remembers. Poetic, Dana said dryly, but irrelevant. With a flick of her wrist, she signaled 2 soldiers to flank Luna. They moved fast, but Scorcher was faster. In a blur of fire and motion, he lunged, knocking one soldier aside with his tail and pinning the other with a claw to the chest. The man screamed, but Scorcher did not burn him, only held him, eyes blazing. Last warning, Luna said, her voice now edged with steel. Dana hesitated. She had faced rebels, pirates, even alien warlords, but never someone like this, calm, certain, and utterly unafraid. Then, the ground shook. Not from an explosion, but from the forest itself. Vines of pure light erupted from the earth, wrapping around the soldiers' legs. The crystals began to glow brighter, their hum rising to a piercing whine. Shards lifted into the air, orbiting Luna like a storm of glass. What the? Dana gasped, stumbling back. You broke the silence, Luna said. Now the world answers. The light vines pulled the soldiers off their feet. Weapons clattered to the ground. The dropship's engines sputtered as the biofield interfered with its systems. Dana raised her rifle, but Luna was already before her, close enough to touch. You think you own the stars, Luna said softly, but you cannot even hear the song beneath your boots. She placed a hand on Dana's chest plate. Not to harm, but to show. In that instant, Dana saw it. Not with her eyes, but with her mind. She saw Viralia as it truly was. A web of light and life, every crystal a neuron, every root a memory. She saw the starborn elves walking in harmony with the land, teaching, healing, singing the world to sleep each night. She saw the first humans arrive, curious then greedy. She saw forests fall, rivers run black, and the great silence begin. And she saw Luna, alone for centuries, waiting. Dana gasped, stumbling back as the vision faded. Her hand shook. Her breath came fast. You showed me that on purpose, she whispered. Yes, Luna said, because you needed to understand. Power is not taken, it is given, by those who trust you. Scorcher released the last soldier, who scrambled away wide-eyed. Dana looked at her team, then at the glowing forest, then at Luna. For the first time in her life, she felt small. Not weak, just small. What do you want us to do? She asked, voice raw. Leave, Luna said. Tell your people what you saw. Tell them Virilia is not for sale. Not for mining. Not for war. Dana nodded slowly. And if they send someone else? Someone who won't listen? Luna's eyes gleamed. Then they will face more than just me. She turned and walked back into the forest, Scorcher at her side. The light vines retracted. The crystals dimmed. The air grew still. Dana stood there for a long moment, staring at the spot where Luna had vanished. Then she tapped her comm. Aurora's Edge, this is Cross. Abort mission. I repeat, abort. We're coming back. On the ship, Mia let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Back in the heart of the forest, Luna knelt before the great heart spire. She placed both hands on its surface and closed her eyes. The forest sighed around her, its song returning to peace. They will come again, Scorcher said, curling beside her. Yes, Luna agreed, but next time maybe they will come with open hands instead of clenched fists. She looked up at the twin moons, their light weaving silver through the trees. Somewhere out there among the stars, other worlds waited. Some were dying. Some were angry. Some were lost, but Virilia would endure. As long as she breathed, as long as Scorcher flew, as long as the crystals sang, Virilia would remain a beacon, not of power, but of balance. And that, Luna knew, was the rarest thing in the universe. Weeks passed since the humans left Virilia. The crystal forest healed slowly, its song growing stronger with each passing night. Luna walked its paths daily, listening, tending, remembering. Scorcher often flew above, his wings catching the light of the twin moons, scanning the sky not for peace but for threats. He knew, as Luna did, that silence was not surrender. On the human ship Aurora's Edge, Captain Dana Cross sat alone in her quarters, staring at a small data chip in her palm. It held her official report: mission failed. No resources acquired. Crew unharmed. Reason: Planetary defense system too advanced. Recommendation: classify Veralia as Restricted Zone Alpha 9. But that wasn't the truth. The truth was far stranger and far more dangerous. She had seen the vision, felt the heartbeat of a living world, and though her superiors on Mars Command had accepted her report without question, Dana knew they wouldn't stop. Not really. Earth was starving. Colonies were collapsing, and Verelia's energy signature was too powerful to ignore. So when the message came, encrypted, urgent, marked eyes only, she wasn't surprised. It was from Admiral Claire Bennett, head of the Outer Rim Resource Division. The message was short: new team deploying. You will guide them. Refusal on court-martial. Dana crushed the chip in her hand. Meanwhile, on Veralia, Luna sensed the shift before she saw it. The crystals grew restless again. Their hum turned anxious. Scorcher landed beside her one evening, scales dark with worry. "They're coming back," he said. "I know," Luna replied, not looking up from the glowing root she was mending. "But this time, it feels different." She was right. 3 days later, not one ship appeared, but 5, sleek, black, and silent. No markings, no identification codes. These were not military vessels. They were corporate, the Helix Syndicate. Rumors of them had reached even Verelia's quiet corners. They didn't follow laws. They bought them. They owned mining rights on dead worlds, terraforming licenses on dying ones, and private armies bigger than some planetary defenses. And now, they wanted Veralia. Their leader stepped onto the surface alone. Tall, elegant, with sharp features and eyes like polished steel. She wore a white suit that shimmered like ice. Her name was Victoria Lane, CO of Helix Prime, trillionaire, and the woman who had personally signed the order to glass 3 rebel colonies when they refused to sell their water rights. She didn't bring soldiers. She brought scientists, engineers, negotiators, and a smile that never reached her eyes. "Luna of the Starborn," Victoria called out, her voice smooth as glass. "I've heard so much about you." Luna stood at the edge of the Heartspire Grove, Scorcher at her side. She said nothing. Victoria took a step closer. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to offer a partnership." Still silence. "Imagine it," Victoria continued, spreading her hands. "Your knowledge of this world. Our technology. Together, we could share Verelia's energy with the entire galaxy. Save billions. End famine. Stop wars over fuel." "You speak of sharing," Luna said at last, her voice calm. "But your hands are already reaching." Victoria's smile tightened. "Survival requires compromise." "Verelia does not compromise," Luna replied. "It chooses." Victoria's eyes flicked to Scorcher. "And your little dragon?" "Does he choose too?" Scorcher growled, smoke curling from his jaws. "He is not little," Luna said, "and he is not mine to command. He stands with me because he wishes to." Victoria nodded slowly, then let him stand aside when the real work begins. With a wave of her hand, she signaled her team. Drones rose from the landing craft, dozens of them, sleek and silent. They hovered toward the crystal spires, scanners whirring. Luna moved. She didn't shout, didn't strike. She simply raised her arms and the forest answered. The ground split open. Roots of pure light shot upward, snatching drones from the air like spiders catching flies. The crystals pulsed, sending out waves of energy that fried the machines mid-flight. Sparks rained down like fireflies. Victoria didn't flinch. Impressive, but predictable. She tapped a device on her wrist. From the ships above, something dropped. Not bombs. Seeds. Black, thorny pods that hit the ground and burst open, releasing a thick, oily mist. Where the mist touched the crystal spires, the light dimmed. The hum stuttered. The forest choked. Luna gasped. "What is this?" "Biosuppressant," Victoria said coolly. "Designed to neutralize organic energy fields. Your little magic won't work for long." Scorcher lunged, but the mist clung to his scales, slowing him. He coughed, wings faltering. "No!" Luna cried, rushing to him. Victoria watched, satisfied. "You had your chance." Her engineers moved in, placing extraction nodes at the base of the largest crystals. The machines whined to life, drawing energy from the heart of the forest. The ground trembled. The sky darkened. Luna knelt beside Scorcher, pressing her forehead to his. "Stay with me," she whispered. Then she closed her eyes and did something she had not done since childhood. She sang, not with her voice, but with her soul, the song of the Starborn. It began as a hum in her chest, then rose through her bones, out her hands into the earth. The crystals responded, flickering weakly at first, then brighter. The mist recoiled. The roots stirred. Victoria's smile vanished. "Shut her down!" Soldiers advanced, but Luna was no longer just an elf. She was a conduit. Light poured from her skin. The air crackled. The extraction nodes sparked and exploded. One by one, the machines died. Victoria backed away, eyes wide. Impossible. But Luna wasn't done. She rose, Scorcher at her side, now strong again, his scales blazing gold. Together they walked toward Victoria, the ground healing beneath their feet. "You think power is something you can bottle?" Luna said. "But true power flows. It gives. It protects. You cannot own it. You can only serve it." Victoria reached for a sidearm, but Scorcher was faster. With a single beat of his wings, he knocked it from her hand and pinned her to the ground with one massive claw. "Please," Victoria whispered, fear finally breaking through her calm. "I have children." Luna looked down at her, not with hatred but with pity. "Then teach them better," she said. She turned to the sky and raised her arms once more. This time, the forest didn't just defend, it spoke. A pulse of light shot upward, striking the helix ships. Not with fire, but with truth. Every screen on every vessel lit up with visions, of Earth's dying oceans, of burning forests, of children crying in dust-choked cities, but also of healing, of gardens growing on rooftops, of clean water flowing, of humans and nature learning to live together. The message was clear. You do not need to destroy to survive, on board the lead ship. Helix engineers stared in silence. Some wept. Others shut down their systems without orders. Victoria lay on the ground, tears in her eyes. I didn't know it could be like that." "Now you do," Luna said. She signaled Scorcher to release her. Victoria stood slowly, brushing dust from her white suit, now stained with soil and ash. She looked at the forest, really looked for the first time. "What do you want me to do?" she asked quietly. "Go home," Luna said. "Shut down your extraction projects. Fund restoration, not ruin. And if you ever return to Viralia..." She didn't finish. She didn't need to. Victoria nodded. "I won't." As the helix ships lifted off, silent and slow, Luna turned back to the heart spire. It glowed softly, its song returning, but Scorcher nudged her shoulder, his eyes on the horizon. "They will send others," he said. "Yes," Luna agreed, but each time the message grows stronger. Back on the Aurora's edge, Dana watched the Helix fleet retreat on her view screen. She had disobeyed orders, refused to guide the new team. Instead, she'd sent them false coordinates, leading them into a solar storm. Now Mars Command was furious. Court-martial papers were already drafted. But Dana didn't care. She opened a private channel and sent a single message to an old friend in the Galactic press. "Viralia is alive, and it's watching." Then she powered down her console and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an elf and her dragon stood guard over a world that sang. And for the first time in years, Dana felt hope. On Viralia, as the twin moons rose again, Luna sat with Scorcher beneath the great heart spire. The forest hummed a gentle lullaby. The crystals shimmered like stars fallen to earth. She placed a hand on Scorcher's neck. "We are not alone anymore," she said. He rumbled softly. "No. They are beginning to listen." And high above, in the silent dark, the stars seemed to lean closer, as if to hear the song too. Months had passed since the Helix Syndicate fled Viralia. The crystal forest bloomed brighter than ever, its song weaving through the air like a lullaby for the stars. Luna walked its paths with quiet purpose, her silver hair catching the light of the twin moons. Scorcher often flew above, his wings wide, his eyes sharp. Not just for enemies, but for change. Because change was coming, not with ships or soldiers, but with whispers. Across the galaxy, stories spread. Tales of a living world that fought not with weapons, but with truth. Of an elf who sang to the earth and a dragon who burned only when necessary. Some called it myth, others called it hope. And then one morning a single pod fell from the sky. Not a warship, not a corporate drone, just a small silver capsule no bigger than a human coffin. It landed softly in a clearing, its surface warm but unharmed. Luna approached slowly, Scorcher at her side, his scales flickering amber with curiosity. The pod hissed open. Inside lay a girl, no older than 16, with dark curly hair, olive skin, and a breathing mask over her face. Her uniform bore no insignia, only a patch stitched by hand, a green leaf wrapped around a gear. Luna knelt. The girl's eyes fluttered open. You're real?" she whispered, voice weak. "Who are you?" Luna asked gently. "My name is Zoe," the girl said, pulling off the mask with trembling hands. "I came to learn." Scorcher snorted, smoke curling from his nose. "Another human? After all that?" But Luna placed a hand on his neck. She came alone, unarmed. That means something. Zoe sat up slowly, wincing. "I stowed away on a supply freighter. I've been reading everything I could find about Viralia. The reports, the rumors, even Captain Cross's leaked logs. I knew it was real. I needed to see it for myself." "Why?" Luna asked. "Because Earth is dying," Zoe said, tears welling in her eyes. "Not just from hunger or war. From forgetting. We forgot how to listen, how to care. My school taught us to extract, not protect, to own, not belong. But your world, it's different. I want to learn how to be part of something alive." Luna studied her. She saw no greed in Zoe's eyes. Only hunger, not for power, but for meaning. "The forest will test you," Luna said at last. "It does not trust easily," Zoe nodded. "I'll do whatever it asks." And so she stayed. Luna did not teach her with books or lectures. Instead, she showed her how to sit quietly beside a crystal spire and listen to its hum, how to press her palms to the earth and feel the pulse of roots deep below, how to offer water not as a resource but as a gift. At first, Zoe struggled. Her hands were used to screens, not soil. Her mind raced with questions while the forest spoke in silence. But slowly she changed. She learned to wake with the dawn mist, to weave vines into shelter without breaking them, to sing, not with perfect notes but with honest heart. And one night, as she sat beneath the heart spire, her voice trembling in a simple melody, the crystals glowed in response. Scorcher watched from a distance, tail flicking. "She's not like the others." "No," Luna agreed. "She came not to take, but to return." Meanwhile, far beyond Viralia, the galaxy stirred. Captain Dana Cross had been stripped of her rank, but not her voice. Her testimony, along with Zoe's hidden recordings and leaked Helix data, sparked protests on a dozen worlds. Students marched. Engineers quit their posts. Colonies refused new mining contracts. Even Mars Command grew uneasy. In a quiet office on Ceres Station, Admiral Claire Bennett reviewed a new report. It showed energy use dropping across human space, not from scarcity but from choice. Rooftop gardens, solar webs, water reclamation projects inspired by Virelian biodesigns. Her assistant cleared his throat. "Should we send another team?" "Quietly this time?" Bennett stared at a hologram of Virelia glowing softly in the dark. "No," she said at last. "We send an ambassador." Weeks later, a single ship arrived, small, white, no weapons. It landed at the edge of the forest, and from it stepped a woman in simple gray robes, Elena Mitchell, former biologist, now head of the Galactic Ecological Council. She carried no tools, no scanners, only a satchel of seeds from Earth's last wild forests. Luna met her at the tree line. "I come in peace," Elena said, bowing slightly, not to ask for power, but for guidance. Luna studied her. The forest hummed, testing. "Why should we trust you?" Luna asked. "Because I've spent my life trying to heal what others broke," Elena replied, "and I've failed more than I've succeeded. But Viralia, it offers a new way, not just for humans, but for all who've forgotten how to belong to a world." She opened her satchel and knelt, placing the seeds gently on the ground. "These are from the Pacific Northwest. My grandmother planted the last tree there. I carry its children in hopes they might find a home again." The earth trembled softly. A root rose, curling around the seeds, then drawing them down. Luna smiled. "The forest accepts your offering." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you." Over the next days, Luna showed her how the crystals purified water, how the light vines generated clean energy, how balance was not a goal, but a rhythm. Elena took no notes. She simply watched, listened, learned. When it was time to leave, she turned to Luna. "What can we do to honor this place?" "Do not build temples," Luna said. "Do not make statues. Simply live as if your world is alive, because it is. Care for it. Speak to it. Let your children play in its rivers and climb its trees. That is enough." Elena nodded. We will try. Back at the camp, Zoe helped pack supplies for Elena's return journey. As they worked, she asked, "Do you think they'll really change?" Luna looked toward the horizon, where Scorcher circled in the warm light. "Change is slow, like roots growing through stone. But once it begins, it cannot be undone." Zoe smiled. "Then I'll stay. I want to help others learn." "You already are," Luna said. That night under the twin moons, the three of them, elf, dragon, and human, sat together in silence. The forest sang around them, its song now woven with a new thread: hope. But not all corners of the galaxy welcomed this change. In the shadowed belts beyond Neptune, a council of old powers met in secret. They called themselves the Iron Covenant, generals, magnates, and warlords who thrived on scarcity and control. To them, Virilia was not a miracle, it was a threat. "If every world learns to sustain itself," growled General Harlan Vogt, "who will need our fleets, our fuel, our fear?" "We cannot let this myth spread," said Magnate Irina Kovac, her voice like ice. "Virilia must fall publicly, painfully. Plans were made." Weapons gathered. A fleet assembled. Not of 5 ships, but 50. They would not ask. Not negotiate. They would burn the forest to ash and broadcast it across every channel, a lesson to all who dreamed of peace. On Virilia, Luna felt the shift before the first scout ship appeared. The crystals grew cold. The wind carried a metallic tang. Scorcher landed hard, his scales black with dread. "They're coming," he said, "not to talk. To destroy." Zoe ran to them, eyes wide. "What do we do?" Luna closed her eyes. For the first time, doubt flickered in her heart. Could the forest withstand fire meant only for ruin? Then she remembered something her mother once told her. The greatest strength is not in resisting the storm, but in becoming the ground that holds the seed after it passes. She opened her eyes. "We do not fight them," she said. "We show them." "Show them what?" Zoe asked. "What happens when you try to kill a world that knows how to heal?" She turned to Scorcher. "Fly high, watch, but do not strike unless the heart spire is touched." Then she walked to the center of the grove and knelt before the great crystal. She did not sing this time. She listened, and the forest listened back. Days later, the Iron Covenant fleet arrived, a wall of steel and fury blocking out the stars. General Vogt himself stepped onto the surface, flanked by armored soldiers and plasma cannons. "Elf," he boomed. "Surrender your world or we reduce it to glass." Luna stood alone before him, barefoot, unarmed. "You may burn the trees," she said calmly. "But you cannot burn the song," Vogt laughed. "Fire the first wave." Cannons roared. Beams of white-hot energy slammed into the forest. Crystals shattered. Light died. Smoke rose. Zoe cried out, but Luna held up a hand. "Watch." Where the fire struck, the earth did not char. It opened. From the wounds, new growth erupted. Vines thicker than trees, flowers that bloomed in seconds, roots that wrapped around fallen shards and pulled them back into the soil. The forest was not dying. It was transforming. "Impossible," Fogg shouted. "Not impossible," Luna said. "Alive." Scorcher dove from the sky, not to attack but to breathe, not fire but mist. The mist carried spores from the Heartspire, drifting over the soldiers, over the machines, over the general himself. Where the mist touched metal, green shoots sprouted. Where it touched skin, memories surfaced. Of childhood streams, of mother's lullabies, of quiet moments beneath open skies. Vogt fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. I forgot." The cannons fell silent. One by one, the soldiers lowered their weapons. Above, the fleet wavered. Luna walked to Vogt and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You do not have to be what they made you." He looked up at her, broken. "What do I do now?" "Go home," she said. "Plant a tree. Tell your children its name." As the fleet retreated, some ships already broadcasting what they'd seen, the forest began to heal. Zoe ran to Luna, breathless. "It worked." "It always does," Luna said softly. Scorcher landed beside them, his scales glowing gold once more, and high above, the twin moons watched over a world that refused to be conquered, because it had already learned how to love. Peace settled over Virilia like morning mist, soft and steady. The crystal forest hummed with a deeper song now. one woven with threads of human voices, distant but growing stronger. Luna walked its paths each day, not as a lone guardian anymore, but as a teacher. Beside her, Scorcher still watched the skies, but his growls had softened into rumbles of curiosity. And behind them, often tripping over roots or laughing at her own mistakes, came Zoe. Her hands now calloused from planting, her eyes bright with wonder. More visitors had come since the Iron Covenant's defeat. Not armies, not corporations, people. Farmers from Mars Dome 7 who wanted to learn soil renewal, engineers from Titan who sought clean energy designs, even children sent by parents who whispered, "Go see the world that sings." They did not stay long. Luna allowed only a few at a time, and only those the forest accepted. Some left after a day, overwhelmed by the silence. Others stayed weeks learning to listen. All left changed. But Luna knew peace was never final. It was a choice made again and again and far away. In places where light did not reach, old fears still festered. On the edge of known space, in a derelict station orbiting a dead star, a man named Dr. Ellis Crow watched the news feeds with cold eyes. Once a top xenobiologist for the old Earth Federation, he had been dismissed years ago for unethical experiments, trying to splice alien DNA into human soldiers. Now forgotten and bitter, he saw Viralia not as a miracle, but as a key. If that elf can bond with a living world, he muttered to his empty lab, then the bond can be copied, controlled, weaponized. He had spent months studying every scrap of data, Dana Cross's logs, Zoe's accidental broadcasts, even fragments from the Helix retreat. He believed the secret lay not in harmony but in biology, in blood, and he knew how to get it. Using black market credits and stolen clearance codes, he built a small stealth vessel. Not for war, for theft. His target, Scorcher, not to kill him, to capture him, to study the dragon's cells, his breath, his connection to Luna. If he could replicate that link, he could create an army of soldiers bonded to war machines, unstoppable, loyal, and utterly obedient. He called his project Echo. One night, under the pale glow of the smaller moon, Luna felt it, a wrongness in the air. Not loud, not violent, but sharp, like a needle in a dream. Scorcher lifted his head from where he lay curled near the heart spire. Something is hiding. Zoe, who now slept in a woven shelter nearby, sat up. Raiders? No, Luna said. Something quieter, smarter. She closed her eyes and reached out with her senses. The forest whispered back, not of fire or steel, but of silence. A silence that swallowed sound, a ship cloaked in shadow, hovering just beyond the upper canopy. They are not here for the crystals, Luna realized. They are here for us. Scorcher's scales darkened to deep red. Let me burn the sky. Not yet, Luna said. They want you, brother. They think you are the source. Then let them learn how wrong they are. Scorcher growled. But Luna had another plan. Dr. Crow watched from his ship's screen, heart pounding. His sensors showed Luna and the girl sleeping. The dragon lay alone near the central spire. Perfect. Deploy the net, he ordered his 2 hired mercenaries. From the ship's belly, a silent drone dropped, unfolding like a spider. It carried a biostasis field, designed to freeze neural activity without killing. Crow didn't want a dead dragon. He wanted a living one. The drone landed softly, inches from Scorcher's tail. It activated. A pulse of blue energy spread outward, but Scorcher was already gone. In a flash of gold and fire, he leapt into the air, the stasis field collapsing on empty ground. The drone sparked and died. Abort! Abort! Crow shouted. Too late. Scorcher roared. Not a sound of rage, but a call. The forest answered. Vines shot up, wrapping around the drone's remains. Crystals flared, sending pulses that scrambled the stealth ship's systems. Lights flickered on board. Alarms blared. We've been made, one mercenary yelled. Get us out of here. Crow screamed, but the ship wouldn't respond. The biofield from the forest had locked its engines. Below, Luna stood tall, arms raised. She did not attack the ship. She spoke to it. You think life is a tool? She said, her voice carrying on the wind. But it is a gift. And gifts cannot be stolen. The ship's hull groaned. Moss began to spread across its surface. Roots crept into its vents. Inside, the air grew thick with the scent of rain and soil. Crow gasped. What is this? His mercenaries dropped their weapons, overwhelmed by sudden memories of gardens, of pets, of holding a newborn's hand. One began to cry. Then the hatch opened on its own. Luna stood beneath it, Zoe and Scorcher at her sides. Crow stumbled out, hands up. "Please, I only wanted to help humanity. By turning life into a weapon?" Luna asked gently. "That is not help. That is fear wearing a lab coat." She stepped closer. "Look at my brother. Do you see a weapon?" Scorcher lowered his head, eyes steady on Crow. Not angry, just sad. Crow's breath hitched. I saw only power." "Power without care is poison," Luna said. "But you are not beyond healing." She turned to Zoe. "Bring the seed pouch." Zoe ran to her shelter and returned with a small leather bag filled with glowing seeds from the heart spire. "Plant one," Luna told Crow. Trembling, he took a seed and knelt. The earth opened for him. As he placed the seed inside, warmth spread up his arms. Tears fell onto the soil. What is happening?" he whispered. "You are remembering how to belong," Luna said. The seed sprouted instantly, a tiny crystal sapling glowing in his palm. Crow wept openly now. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't remember." "Now you do," Luna said. "Go home, grow this. Teach others not to take, but to tend." His mercenaries nodded, humbled. They helped him back onto the ship, now covered in soft green moss. As it lifted off, no longer cloaked but open to the stars, Crow looked down one last time. Luna waved. Back on the ground, Zoe hugged herself. "Do you think he'll really change?" "Change begins with a single seed," Luna said. "The rest is up to him," Scorcher snorted. "Humans are complicated." "Yes," Luna smiled. "But so are we." Weeks later, news came from Earth. Dr. Crow had returned not to a lab but to a ruined city in Oregon. There, on a patch of poisoned ground, he planted his crystal sapling. Within days, the soil began to heal. Grass grew. Birds returned. People gathered not for science but for hope. He called it the first listening garden. Other cities followed. On Mars, Dana Cross, now working with Elena Mitchell, helped build the second. She wore no uniform, only simple clothes and dirt on her hands. When reporters asked why she gave up her rank, she said, "I finally found something worth protecting that didn't need a gun." On Virelia, the forest sang louder. More visitors came, not to take but to learn. Luna taught them all the same lesson. You are not above the world. You are part of it. Zoe, now fluent in the old tongue of the crystals, began guiding small groups herself. She showed them how to sit quietly, how to offer water, how to say thank you to a tree. Scorcher still guarded the skies, but now he sometimes landed near children, letting them touch his warm scales. He never burned unless asked, and no one ever asked. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Luna stood with Zoe and Scorcher at the edge of the Heartspire Grove. "Do you think we've won?" Zoe asked. Luna shook her head. "There is no winning, only choosing. Every day, every person chooses to take or to give, to fear or to trust. And what do we choose?" Zoe asked. Luna looked at her, then at Scorcher, then at the glowing forest stretching to the horizon. "We choose to be here," she said, "to listen, to heal, to hope." Above them, the stars blinked like distant friends, and somewhere, on 100 worlds, new seeds were being planted, not of crystal, but of kindness. The song was spreading, and this time, the galaxy was learning how to sing along. Seasons turned on Virelia. The crystal forest grew taller, its song richer, its light deeper. What once was a hidden sanctuary had become a quiet beacon, a place others came not to conquer but to remember. Luna still walked its paths, but she no longer walked alone. Beside her strode Zoe, now older, wiser, her hands skilled in both human science and elven ways. And above them, Scorcher circled, his wings wide, his golden eyes watching not just for danger, but for signs of change. Change had come in waves. Listening gardens now bloomed on Earth, Mars, Titan, and even the dry plains of Ceres. Children learned to speak to trees. Engineers designed cities that breathed like forests. Ships no longer carried drills. They carried seeds. But peace, Luna knew, was not the absence of conflict. It was the presence of care, and care required constant tending. So when the signal came, a faint, broken pulse from the outer rim, Luna did not ignore it. It was not a human signal, not Helix. Not Iron Covenant. It was something older. On a frozen moon orbiting a dying red star, a small vessel drifted, half buried in ice. Its hull was etched with symbols no human database could read, curved lines like vines, circles like eyes. Inside, life signs flickered weakly. The Galactic Council had found it weeks ago but dared not approach. The energy readings were strange, alive yet sorrowful. They sent a message to Virelia. "We do not understand this, but you might." Luna agreed to go, not with weapons, not with fear, with Zoe, Scorcher, and a pouch of Heartspire seeds. Their ship, a gift from Elena Mitchell, built with living wood and solar silk, glided silently through the void. Scorcher curled in the back, uneasy. "This place feels empty," he rumbled. "Not empty," Luna said, grieving. They landed on the ice moon as twin suns dipped below the horizon. The air was thin, bitter. The derelict ship loomed ahead, half swallowed by frost. As they stepped closer, the ice beneath their feet began to glow, faintly, like distant stars. Zoe gasped. "It's reacting to us." Luna knelt and placed her palm on the frozen ground. A whisper reached her, not in words, but in feeling, loneliness, loss, waiting. "Someone is still inside," she said. Carefully, they pried open the ship's hatch. Inside, the air was warm, humming with a low, sad tone. Crystals, black and dull, lined the walls, cracked and cold. And in the center, suspended in a cocoon of woven light, floated a figure, tall, slender, with silver skin and long, flowing hair the color of twilight. Her eyes were closed, her hands folded over her chest. Around her neck hung a pendant shaped like a crescent moon. "Another elf," Zoe whispered. Luna's breath caught. Not just any elf, a starborn elder. She stepped forward slowly. The cocoon pulsed weakly. "Her name is Lyra," Luna said, remembering the stories. "She was sent to the Outer Rim centuries ago to awaken sleeping worlds. But she never returned." Scorcher lowered his head. "She's in stasis, but fading." Luna knew what had happened. Lyra had found a world worth saving, but it had been too far gone. Poisoned, broken. In her grief, she had wrapped herself in the last of her power, waiting for someone to understand. "We have to wake her," Zoe said. "Not with force," Luna replied. "With song." She opened her pouch and placed a Heartspire seed on the ship's floor. Then she began to hum, the old song of the Starborn, the one that called roots to rise and light to bloom. Zoe joined in, her voice untrained but true. Scorcher added a low, rumbling harmony like thunder beneath the earth. The seed glowed. Light spread across the floor, up the walls, into the black crystals. They began to shimmer, then brighten. The cocoon around Lyra softened. Her eyes opened. Slowly, she floated down, bare feet touching the floor. She looked at Luna, recognition dawning in her ancient eyes. "You are the last," Lyra whispered. "I was," Luna said, "but not anymore." Lyra's gaze moved to Zoe, then to Scorcher. Wonder filled her face. "You have taught them to listen." "They taught me to hope," Luna replied. Tears like liquid silver rolled down Lyra's cheeks. "My world, it died. I could not save it." "No one can save everything," Luna said gently. "But we can help what remains to heal." Lyra looked around the ship, then out the broken viewport at the frozen moon. "This place, it was once green, full of song. Now it is silent." "Not forever," Zoe said, stepping forward. "We brought seeds." Lyra stared at her. "A human. Offering life?" Zoe nodded. "We're learning." Lyra smiled for the first time in centuries. Over the next days they worked together. Lyra, though weak, knew the old ways better than Luna. She showed them how to weave light vines into warmth, how to call water from deep ice using harmonic tones. Luna shared what she had learned from humans, their mistakes, their courage, their slow return to balance. Zoe recorded nothing. She simply did. Scorcher melted ice with his breath, not to destroy but to water. Slowly, a small garden took root inside the ship, crystals glowing, moss spreading, tiny flowers blooming in colors no one had seen before. But the real work lay outside. On the frozen surface, Luna and Lyra stood side by side. They pressed their hands to the ice and sang, not to command but to invite. Deep below, something stirred. Not fire, not machines. Life roots frozen for millennia twitched. Seeds buried in ancient soil dreamed of sun. The ice began to crack, not from heat, but from memory. Back on Virelia, news of the awakening spread. Elena Mitchell organized a quiet mission, not to interfere but to witness. Dana Cross volunteered to pilot the support ship. Even former Helix engineers came, offering clean energy tech to help warm the soil without harm. When they arrived, they found not a rescue, but a rebirth. The frozen moon now held patches of green. Streams trickled where ice once ruled, and in the center of it all stood Luna, Lyra, Zoe, and Scorcher, surrounded by the first children of the new world, planting seeds with careful hands. Dana stepped down from her ship, tears in her eyes. "You didn't just save her," she said to Luna. "You gave us all a second chance." Lyra approached her. "You humans. You surprised me." "We're trying," Dana said. "Trying is the first note of the song," Lyra replied. As weeks passed, the moon, now called Elara, meaning dawn return in the old tongue, began to breathe again. Birds from Virelia, carried in special pods, sang in the new trees. Fish swam in clear streams, and at night the black crystals glowed with soft blue light echoing the twin moons of Virelia. Lyra chose to stay. "My duty is not to mourn," she told Luna, "but to tend." Luna understood. She would return to Virelia, but now she carried something new. Kin. Before leaving, Lyra gave her a gift, a single silver feather from her hair, woven with starlight. "When you feel alone," she said, "remember you are never the last." On the journey home, Zoe sat beside Luna in the ship's quiet cabin. "Do you think there are more out there?" she asked. "More lost ones? More sleeping worlds?" Luna looked out at the stars. "I know there are. Then what do we do?" "We listen," Luna said. "And when we hear a whisper, we answer." Scorcher, curled near the window, opened one eye. "And if they don't want our help? Then we leave them in peace," Luna said. "Care is not control. Healing is not ownership," Zoe nodded. "I think I'm ready to go on my own soon." Luna smiled. "I know." Zoe would soon take her own ship, a small living vessel grown from Virelian wood, and travel to nearby systems carrying seeds, songs, and silence. Not as a savior, as a friend. Back on Virelia, the forest welcomed them home with a chorus of light and sound. The Heartspire glowed brighter than ever, as if proud. That night, under the twin moons, Luna stood alone for a moment, the silver feather warm in her hand. Scorcher landed beside her. "You're thinking about the stars again." "Always," she said. "They're listening too, you know," he rumbled. She laughed softly. "I hope so." And high above in the endless dark, 1,000 new seeds drifted on solar winds, carried by human hands, elven songs and dragon wings, each one a promise that life, once given a chance, will always find a way to grow. The galaxy was learning to sing, and Luna, the last starborn elf, was no longer alone. She was the beginning.